Welcome back to Beards and Brews. This week's review is going to be The Cable Guy, or Ferris Bueller's Midlife Crisis. Fellas, this was a movie.
Was this your joke that you had written down? I was like, that's gold.
It's all downhill from here.
This was my pick. I remember having feelings about it as, I'm sure the last time I saw this was probably 1997. I don't know why I picked this movie.
I remember seeing your pick for this little round of whatever, and I was like, man, that's a pretty good pick. I mean, it's something to talk about because we haven't done a Jim Carrey movie ever. And watching it, I'm just like, am I missing one thing or the whole ass thing?
I can't answer that. I've got feelings about this, but I don't know what they are.
I was gonna say I'm right there with you, Eric. I watched it. I went, I guess I should laugh. I see whenever I was younger why I laughed at this. You know, it's got Jim Carrey. He's a fucking rubber man, and he's going crazy. And my son would walk into the room here and there and just watch Jim Carrey being Jim Carrey, and that would give him amusement. But having grown out of that stage, seeing this, I was just waiting to see what was going to happen next. Okay, I get it. You're goofy. Where are we going?
Well, I'll say this was right in the middle of his streak. He was one of the hottest actors on the planet during the middle of this. He had Ace Ventura. He had The Mask. What else did he have during all this streak?
Truman Show, all kinds of stuff.
This is right in the middle of his prime, and this is such a far it's not an acting left turn, but the type of movie that it is. He's never done another movie like this.
It's almost like this whole movie is just a crowd of people who just showed up to see Jim Carrey do his shtick.
Yes.
Yeah, I have all these friends come over. Jim Carrey's going to be in my movie, and they're like, wow, and I get a paycheck? Fantastic. Kyle, Gas, please, come over here.
Who else can we get in there? Is that David Cross?
This, by the way, was directed by Ben Stiller. The only thing that I know of that Ben Stiller's actually directed himself, and all of his friends are here.
It's almost in the same vein as how Adam Sandler has all his buddies in every one of his movies.
Absolutely.
So, with the whole, Ben Stiller thing, I was actually more interested in the side story about Ben Stiller's, little TV character than I was this actual film. I was like, well, okay, let me see what's going on with, Brother Sweet over here.
Mm. I thought there was going to be some kind of narrative tie-in, with this, because through the whole movie we get these little snippets of this murder trial, and I felt like it was going to have something to do with Chip, Jim Carrey's character, kinda, but really all it led up to was the trial just being shut off of TV and everybody just being disappointed.
Yeah, I really did too. Throughout the whole thing, I thought that there would be some kind of tie-in. I'm a little bit disappointed that there wasn't. At least some kind of actual on-screen, not on-screen appearance by Ben Stiller, but we didn't get that.
It was almost sort of the little Eric Roberts thing, that little TV movie.
Oh yeah, we did get that. Yeah,
that was kind of funny.
Brother, Sweet Brother, starring Eric Roberts.
That's almost how I feel about the whole movie. It tries to make me laugh, but the only thing it gets out of me is just that's pretty good.
See, there's a couple of instances like that where it's sort of this tongue-in-cheek, actual comedy. I don't think the majority of this movie is a comedy.
Well, it's supposed to be a dark comedy. I get it. I get where it's trying to go for, but on one hand, you have... It's almost like this whole movie's miscast. None of these people belong there. Jim Carrey is way too fucking rubber and wacky to be cynical. He's not to where Jim Carrey plays his that dude in 23. He's not there yet. And then you have Matthew Broderick being a fucking wet mattress the whole time, making faces and calling it acting.
I like Matthew Broderick. I think he's doing a fine job.
You just like this guy, man. I've hated on him, and I fucking hated on him. He doesn't do anything. Even in this movie, I'm getting my cable installed. He's talking like a fucking cow chews. As he talks, his jaw drops, goes left to right, and comes back up. It looks like he's chewing something as he speaks. And then every camera angle, whenever he's there, is so close to his face. I'm waiting for him to turn and face it and go, and that's why we had to go and drive the car in reverse.
He feels like one of those guys who where like, even though he's a complete stranger, you say hi to, and he just like walks by. That's his personality.
This is definitely like Ferris Bueller grew up, got a job that he hates, and got a lot less cool.
Yeah, Ferris Bueller's midlife crisis.
Yeah,
there you go.
You are absolutely right. He plays essentially the same character. But what we have going on here, like
all you have to say is Cuck Bueller is sitting inside of his house.
Ow.
He's just sobbing.
All right. Anyway, so we the opening to this movie starts with a montage of, old TV, garbage TV, very like 90s. You got Jerry Springer and Ricky Lake and all that. Matthew Broderick is flipping through those channels. Like, it's very fuzzy. You got the 3, 8, and 13, the on-air cable channels. And he's like, where's the fucking cable guy? He's supposed to be here already.
Oh my god. And the whole time, he's just like rustling through his stuff. Because we do find out that he was kicked out by his girlfriend because, unfortunately, he asked her to marry him. And she was like, ew, cooties.
What a dick.
And he's just like, man, the cable guy should be here. The cable guy should be here. I'm going to take a shower, but the cable guy should be here. I was like, I get it. It's called the cable guy. Knock it off.
And he gets in the shower, and I'm completely expecting a scene of, him to talk about, like, fascist anarchists a la Ferris Bueller.
Exactly.
And he goes,
turn the camera. Gonna turn right to it and be like, and there was the cable guy banging on my door. Totally didn't expect it. Fuck him.
It's all he's got.
Well, we keep mentioning Ferris Bueller for obvious reasons, but you know what? Chip or Jim Carrey does have a very Cameron-y kind of persona and stature.
You think?
Ferris Bueller, you're my hero.
I just wanted to be your friend.
See, I like Cameron. I feel like I can relate a lot to Cameron. I can't relate to Jim Carrey at all. Or Chip. I can't relate to that at all. I think they are polar opposite people.
Yeah, you're right. Jim Carrey has like a huge blackmail system that stretches across the city.
Fuck yeah. He is just so tightly wound into every type of social fabric around.
He is a super extrovert. He wants to be friends with everybody, anybody that will let him be his friend. And most of the people that don't want him to be his friend, he is their friend. Where Cameron is, Ferris, you are my best friend, but please leave me the fuck alone.
I just feel like, I don't know, I'm not disappointed, I'm kind of frustrated.
Yeah, this movie throughout kind of does that. Like, you feel like it's going to give you a joke or something to work with because, he's finally there to install the cable, and he does this sensual cable installation, like tapping on the wall like it's a clit and just acting the fuck up. Yep. And you're watching, and you're like, I guess this is going to go somewhere, and it'll keep...
I'm not thinking about this like it's a joke. I'm creeped out. The entire time Jim Carrey is on the screen, I think it's creepy. I don't think it's funny.
And that's perfectly normal, but you have Matthew Broderick back there not reacting at all. That is super weird. Why is he letting him in his fucking room?
There is no fucking reaction to give you any type of vibe. So when he's doing all this, when he's being super creepy, when he's invading his personal space, when he fucking walks through his door and literally calls him a jerk off to his face by screaming, I'd be like, whoa, no, get the fuck out, cable guy. We're not doing this. But instead, he just stands there.
It's almost like he's trying too hard, or like everybody else isn't trying hard enough. So there's like this weird gap between characters so everything just feels weird.
Well, I feel like it's not Jim Carrey's fault in the sense of, Jim Carrey being Jim Carrey.
No,
but the character doesn't fit because it's Jim Carrey's wacky, zany Ace Ventura character installing cable in a plausible world. Everything else in this world seems, fairly realistic and normal, and then you got this fucking dude who's 112 degrees off the fucking charts, and no one's reacting to it. No one.
Well, to be fair, that's probably how I would react. Like, if this exact situation happened and this guy came in, I would be kind of stunned. I would be taken aback. I don't know how I would react other than to just like take it in and wonder, is this guy for real?
So you react by planning a several-hour-long drive out to the middle of the dark woods to visit a satellite, because that's what they do the next day.
In my head, the only way that would work is if he wasn't in my personal space. Like, if there's like a crackhead just being fucking wacky and using his ass to talk, I'm like, wow, that's a funny crackhead. But like, this guy coming in my house and just like feeling up the walls and just being fucking gross, I'm just like, nah.
Knows your personal life.
And he knows through his like cable guy system that his old residence has changed the account name and he's starting up a new account at a different residence. Your old lady kicked you out. So he knows a little bit more personal information than we would probably like him to know.
And once more, Matthew just like, this isn't odd at all. Please give me porno channels.
See, no, I don't think that it's that he doesn't think that it's odd. You can see that he thinks that it's odd. Everyone watching thinks that it's odd. It's just sometimes people, mild-mannered people like myself, are just... We need to take a little bit of time to figure out exactly what's going on and how to react.
He rearranged the man's entire house.
Just the living room.
That's all he had furniture in.
Yeah. And it was only like 3 pieces anyway.
I just don't buy it. I don't know. Something about Matthew Broderick's character I just can't connect with. Like, he went ahead and finished his shower, left a total stranger by himself in the living room doing what the hell ever. I just don't get it.
I can connect with Matthew Broderick's character because I feel like we're pretty similar. Like, we're both sort of mild-mannered, don't want to upset what's going on. You see this kind of loony fellow, he's there to install the cable. You don't want to set him off because you feel like if you set him off, something bad might happen. And also, you still want those pay channels.
I'm just saying, like, he's in his face. Fucking, after he asks for the channels, he's just like, blah, blah, and breathing heavily onto Matthew Broderick's face. You can see the man's hair lifting in the front where Jim Carrey is blowing so hard against him. I'd be like, there's fucking way.
It was kind of funny how, like, Matthew just, like, let him wheeze on him.
All over him.
Anyway, so we asked him for the free channels because his buddy, Jack Black, back at the office was like, hey, if you give him a $50 bill, you can get the free channels. And that's kind of what sets up all of this.
Yeah, it's all Jack Black's fault. Yep,
it is all Jack Black's fault. Jack Black plays one of the more reasonable people in this movie, believe it or not.
He plays like a mild-mannered Jack Black. Maybe that's just like the whole movie. Everyone's just mildly mannered, except for Jim Carrey, because he's being Jim Carrey.
Yeah. Everyone's just a terrified sheep, except for Jim Carrey, who is the insane wolf. Everyone else is just... Even whenever they go to medieval times, he is blackmailed or somehow coerce the entire staff into letting him be part of the show and attack another patron as part of the show and force that patron to be a part of it because Andy Dick forces Matthew Broderick onto that horse and goes, look, man, I don't think he's playing around. Get on the horse.
Yeah, but everybody's getting, their free sports package, their free cable package from them. You kind of want to keep them on your good side, right? And that's what Matthew Broderick's trying to do, too. This guy's getting me free cable or free whatever. Evidently, I could go to jail for that or be fined $5,000 for that. Also, this guy's really creepy. I kind of want to keep him on my good side and maybe tone it down a little bit, de-escalate the situation.
This guy is going to potentially murder me. I'm going to go out to the dark woods with this guy to a satellite dish after a 3-hour drive the next day after meeting a potential murderer.
I don't know that it's a 3-hour drive. That seems like an awful far drive.
In the daylight, and it ends and it's dark as shit.
Well, that could be like 20 minutes.
It wasn't like sunset dusky. It's at least.
I mean, that's just like a formality. Like, the whole business of this random character showing up to your house, diddling around, and inviting you out to the middle of fucking nowhere, and you accept? Come on! Give me more than that.
He does not know it's the middle of nowhere.
But he's still a stranger, no? So
he's definitely a stranger.
Sit on the wagon
like
with
that
him.
kid just like waltzing into a candy van. He's like, all right, man, let's go.
And, here's another red flag. They get out there, and he's giving him the backstory, talking about getting a boot to the face and reconstructive surgery and all this weird shit. Like, no, this is weird. But then he's like, you're my buddy.
I feel like the movie is making him too weird too quickly. And I feel like that disconnect happens because, I guess, Matthew Broderick's so mildly tempered. I just see it coming from a mile away. And, like, as I'm seeing the character not react to anything that Jim Carrey does, I just get frustrated. I'm just like, come on, man. Come on. Just do something.
Like, I don't want
he's a wacko.
I don't want to be the one that's, like, constantly defending this movie, but, like, I feel like I have to be the devil's advocate here. I don't have an extreme liking for this movie or anything, but, like, I think it deserves a little bit better than what you guys are giving credit.
Oh, no. This isn't a bash of the film. This is a bash of the reaction that Matthew Broderick and the rest of the people are giving to the character. This is one big gripe being drug out because it's the biggest flaw in the film that never changes. Like, it's what drags it down. It to me, anyways, it ruins the tone because I'm sitting there trying to be entranced with the wackiness of Jim Carrey, but it doesn't work. And then I'm trying to get something from Matthew Broderick, but he rarely even says a word. It just pans over to him and he's standing there with like a blank face.
That might be where our separation is here, because I'd much rather be in Matthew Broderick's world. What is annoying me through the whole thing is Jim Carrey. Like, Jim Carrey in Ace Ventura, in The Mask, in whatever, is fine. In a world that isn't that, he is far too much. And his lisp, we haven't really mentioned it yet. He's got this lisp that's just too much. Like, it's like people have lisps and that is fine. That's a normal thing. Jim Carrey's lisp is so overdone that it's just like cloying.
That goes back to the point that I made earlier. I think there's like some kind of miscasting here. Because when you have Jim Carrey versus mild-tempered Matthew Broderick, it doesn't work. Somebody has to go. That's what I'm trying to say. There has to be something.
That's 100%. That's why, we were talking before the cast. I said this movie would work if it was just Jim Carrey going around wackily doing these things, like the backstory, how he got, entrenched in this social network. Like, how did he get embedded with the medieval times people? How did he get embedded with the police? How did he get embedded with all these people that he's apparently super tightly woven with, especially like the elderly community?
He's in the Fight Club.
Oh, somebody just broke rule number 1 and 2.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Come on. But then he gives him like advice on how to get his ex back, talking about some Sleepless in Seattle. He's like, my name is Chip. That's what he says. And like, is that not another big fucking red flag? No one ever wanted to know my name. It's just, to me, this is where the suspension of disbelief as an adult watching this film happened. Like, again, you said a disconnect. I have a hard time just wondering why Matthew Broderick is still just interacting with this human being.
Well, at this point, they are laying on the satellite dish, having a conversation. He is, I think he's just trying to grin and bear it for the time being. Like, he's out with this guy, who knows where. He is his ride home. He doesn't really want to be stuck out here, so he's going to be making conversation. And he does say something that is, he calls incredibly insightful regarding the relationship. So there is a little bit of give and take here.
I can understand that, but it's just, that happens. If this was the only time it happened, that's fine. This is the entire film. The entire film.
It's almost inconsistent, right? Like, Jim Carrey in this character, in his part, gives off those crazy, wacky, sociopathic vibes the entire time. And half the time, Matthew Broderick's just like, okay, whatever. Then the other half, he's like, okay, now I get it. Like, he's in it, he's not in it, he's in it, he's not in it.
I think it's more, alright, I understand that I don't want to be friends with this guy, but he is a psychopath, or a sociopath. I don't want to set this guy off in a way that he will harm me or people that I love.
I'm gonna poke a hole in that argument because later on he straight up breaks up with the man in the pouring rain.
Yes.
Yeah,
So he's like,
your friend.
and that is after multiple instances of like, I can't do this. I gotta, you gotta give me some space, that kind of thing.
yeah, but like you said yourself, like he didn't want to invoke any kind of like violence or any kind of backlash, but he goes
Right.
out of his way to break his heart.
That is not out of his way. That is him having enough.
It should have been enough whenever, he showed up randomly at a basketball game that, they play, I guess, every Sunday or what the fuck ever. It's the boys' game. He just shows up, oh, you guys play here too? They've never seen him there before. No one else fucking knows him. And then he's just an embarrassment.
Yeah, like, I don't know that would be just in, like, I don't know what you would say at that point, but I would definitely start to distance myself as much as I could at that point. Like, hey, I met this guy 2 days ago. He's not my dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then what's the first thing he does? He gets home, and he's got fucking 11 messages on his phone, 10 of which are from that guy. So, literally, by the time it took him to get home from the basketball game, this man has called him 10 fucking times.
Yeah, he's got that creeper vibe.
And Matthew Broderick's just like, no big deal.
I don't think
he's business as usual.
I don't think he's business as usual. I don't think he's seeing it as not a big deal.
Because he's having dinner that night with old girl. The cable goes out, right? Oh, don't worry, I can fix this. He's a friend of mine. His words. I'm a preferred customer.
That's just okay. At that point, he is focused on
saying the man should see these things. This is where my disconnect was.
I don't think that he is not seeing these things. I just don't think that you were not giving enough credit to him visually analyzing something without having to verbally or I don't know, show it with his mannerisms. Because that's what I do. Like, if somebody is being a fool in front of me, I might not, like, say something or do something with my hands or anything. I might not make a cartoon out of myself, but I'm going to take in this information and try and analyze, all right, what can I do? In that situation, he was very focused on, all right, his lady is in his apartment. He's supposed to be having a good time. Maybe they're getting back together. That is the number one thing on his mind. And his cable is out. What can he do to resolve this? Fuck, he's got the pager number of Chip. It's a friend of his. All right, he can get it fixed. That's the resolution.
By putting himself in mortal danger the next day.
I mean, you got to do what you got to do. And you don't know that it's mortal danger yet. Like, he is just a little weird at this point. He's all over the place. Sure, he tells weird stories that may or may not be true. We don't know the end of this movie yet. Okay,
fair enough. I can give you that, because Jim Carrey as the Chip character does become, once we'll call it his quirkiness, once Matthew Broderick can work around his quirkiness. To me, the character of Matthew Broderick is a completely user-based. He is only a friend with Jim Carrey because of what he is gaining from Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey is this amazing friend, but he's clingy as fuck.
Oh, absolutely. Okay. Yeah, all right. He is an amazing friend, I guess. Not a friend that I'd want to have, but he is absolutely only in it because of what he can gain. And I think that he would rather not be in it if he could just keep what he has gained.
Yeah, because that's where, Eric brought it up earlier. Whenever he breaks up with him in the pouring rain, he breaks up with him after he got the final resolution. He got the girl back, so he didn't need him anymore, so he dumped him. Jim Carrey was essentially the rebound.
Oh, you know what? No. I like that. Jim Carrey was the rebound. And the way he treats him through the second third of the movie, it totally fucking makes sense. Like, he's just using him so he can eventually get back to whatever her name is.
Correct. Because, think about this. He's taking him to medieval times. He's taking him out to these dinners. He's getting him involved in this stuff that, to me, is like, wow, how is he doing all this? But he doesn't care. He's just like, okay, well, after I put up with this weird shit, you're going to tell me more about this. and I'm going to get the girl back because apparently you know a lot about women somehow.
Two quick little things, because I like to be the one that notes this. We've had Hey Man, Nice Shot by Filter,
I also had that.
classic, and Primitive Radio God standing outside a broken phone booth with money in my hand or something along those lines. That song, you guys know it if you hear it. Yeah, so far we're doing pretty well with this soundtrack.
So once he's using Jim Carrey's character and they go out to this medieval times, there are some good bits here. There are some real good cameos. There's a couple little one-line jokes. There's a bit where Jim Carrey actually makes Matthew Broderick break character.
You talking about that bit where he does the Hannibal Lecter bit with the chicken skin?
Silence of the lambs.
Like, that whole scene right there when they go to the medieval times, it's probably one of the highlights of the movie. And it actually just got me excited about going to one of those places. I was like, man, I wish we had one of those around here. It looks kind of fun.
I would eat there as often as possible. And the one thing that I've always, like Chandler, you took away the porno password is penis. You took that away from this film. For the longest time, I have always taken away, even before I ever saw Star Trek, I have taken away this bit, the whole when they're fighting and the down, down, down. Red Knight's going down. I've taken that since I was little and used it.
I don't know any reference to Star Trek here, so I'm sorry.
Jim Carrey even explained it in the movie. It's from some episode of like the original series.
I think we've talked about this. I've never seen a single anything Star Trek. Nothing ever. No TV show, no movie, nothing ever. I've not seen anything Star Trek ever.
Okay, well then watch the Trebles episode with William Shatner and watch anything The Next Generation with Captain Jean-Luc Picard.
There you go. Or just watch a supercut of Zap Brannigan from Futurama. Same.
I've seen a lot of that. But we do have, we've got a couple of good cameos here. We have Andy Dick as the ringleader. We've got Janine Garofalo, true 90s style here, as the serving wench who just doesn't give a fuck about this job.
She's even got like that good line to where he goes, "Can I get a knife and fork? Sir, they did not have knives and forks in medieval times, therefore we do not have silverware here at medieval times. You don't have silverware, but you have Pepsi." And she just fucking dead looks him in the eyes and goes, "Dude, I got more tables."
Yeah, but the you were talking about the chicken skin on the face, Silence of the Lambs thing. Like, I've got friends as a 30-year-old who would do that. And man, okay, one word that we haven't used yet that I feel like describes the mood of the entire movie is cringe. Like, there's so much cringe in this movie. Like, it's intentional cringe. They want you to cringe at Jim Carrey's character, at the things that he's doing, how over the top he is. But it still makes you feel some kind of way, and that kind of way ain't good.
It makes me feel the same way that Janine Garofalo felt about taking that order at the table.
Yeah, you're like, I got other things to do. Come on, can we move this along?
Anyway, so Jim Carrey is really into, or Chip is really into this. He's, super cheering for his section, talking about, I don't even know what he says, but he's really into this. I guess he comes there 2 times a week.
He comes there 2 times a week with other victims that he's stalking.
Yeah. Just, he's got this whole fucking just blackmail circle going with different people. He's like, "You're my Tuesday and Thursday guy. I come here Friday with Tony."
But apparently he has like all the knights and even the king on his payroll. Got him the sports package.
So like, Matthew Broderick is super apprehensive about all this. He's still going along with it because I guess that's part of the show. But he's like, "Hey, we've got to be careful. We got to not hurt each other, right?" And Jim Carrey's just like, "I can't listen to your instructions. You are my sworn enemy." And yeah.
Well, firefight. I mean, he did bring up a point. He's like, "Don't worry, it's what the armor's for."
I guess, but people with armor still died.
No, I get that. It's just like, that didn't make anything feel better.
The whole scene gets like super over the top with him jousting and trying to kill Matthew Broderick. Matthew Broderick ends up victorious, and they go home, and Jim Carrey has him a present.
Yeah, he walks in and somehow doesn't look into his living room. He just goes straight to the kitchen or something and gets carton of milk or whatever, like people do. And he's like, "Oh, I brought you a present. Go look in the living room."
It's a fucking gigantic TV, and like Matthew Broderick, being the asshole Jon Snow that he is, he's all, "I don't want it."
Well, yeah, like if this person that I met 3 days ago brought me all this, I'd be like, man, this is too much. I don't want this. Like, I understand. And by the way, for those who weren't alive in the 90s, when we talk about a big screen TV, we are talking about a piece of furniture that is several hundred pounds. This is a projection television with like floor speakers. There's a karaoke machine. It takes up
the entire fucking room.
Yeah.
The kind of TV that if you're not careful, you'll get the GTA map stuck in the left-hand corner.
Just burnt right into it.
And he does say, you gotta take this back. I can't deal with this. It's great. I appreciate it, but I can't. It's too much.
And as the narrator went on, he did not.
Well, yeah, he's like, I'm sorry you feel that way. I'll have it out of here by Saturday. But until Saturday.
You want like a awful girlfriend thing to say. He's like, I'm sorry you feel that way.
Well, he is the rebound. The rebound that's trying to maybe clutch onto something more than being a rebound.
Oh yeah, he's really trying to sell it.
Yeah.
I mean, don't you want somebody to love?
Somebody to love.
This was one of the other scenes that I remember seeing as a young teenager. Yeah, we flash forward. Jim Carrey has, I keep calling him Chip, has set up a karaoke party with a bunch of his friends
at his house.
And by friends, you mean his preferred customers?
Yeah, they're all old people.
Nope.
They're almost all old people.
You got like old people, nerds,
hooer, miscreants,
and a cop.
Hey, we don't know she's a hooer yet.
Well, I mean, it's implied.
In honor of you, sir, as in my notes, I wrote hooer, like WHO-URE, hooer.
Hooer. I wish I could take credit for that, but that's totally Always Sunny.
Donnie DeVito.
You say it's implied, and by implied, you mean she has leopard print.
Yeah, she's dressed up like the stereotypical woman of the night. And I caught on as soon as she walked into the room, or as soon as the camera panned over, I'm just like, wait, everybody here is kind of just like regular schlubby New Yorkers, and she's just like leather pants, leather jacket, leopard print, and like the frill thing or whatever.
He says, hey, look at that little lady licorice over there. And that was like clue number 2, She's a whore.
Yeah.
Lady Licorice?
And I like how later on, after Matthew Broderick finds out like who she was, and Jim Carrey's like, come on, think she'd really go after a guy like you?
He says, guys like us. He never puts him down.
Anyway, during the course of this, he's like, yeah, it's a party. Here, Matthew Broderick, have a beer, live a little. Go talk to that whore over there. We don't know that she's a whore yet. Just talk to her. She's a pretty woman. Have a good time. Yeah.
I mean, I guess he's having a good time, but like his opening line is like, "So, what do you do?"
I fuck.
I can't hear you. Let's go into the other room
and get a face rub.
Yeah.
Dude, he was way too into that, by the way.
Well, I have a theory that, like, I thought was canon. I thought this was part of the movie. Evidently, they don't know. Like, okay.
I'm giggling at that you have, like, a cable guy head cannon.
Yeah, like, I thought this was actually part of the movie for... since I saw this last in 1997, I just assumed this was what actually happened. But Jim Carrey put a pill of ecstasy in that beer that he gave him. And he's just in there having a great time getting his head rubbed. Look at him. Look at him.
The only thing I can liken that to is the gif of Vince McMahon in that chair, like, That's just how his face looks the entire time.
I didn't notice the ecstasy pill thing, so I thought that was just like his kink. He just like head rubs like a cat.
No, like it's not something that I saw. Like I was looking for it this time, and it's not.
Oh.
But I thought it was. I thought that's something that I knew happened in this movie, and I still think maybe it is, because the next scene is super psychedelic.
It is.
I thought it was just like supposed to be kind of on point. Like this whole time he's trying to kind of shrug off his ex. You know, he's trying to bang this woman, so he's trying to find somebody to love, and the whole wacky rubber dance that Jim Carrey does is just the Jim Carrey cherry on the top.
Listen.
It could be. Maybe Broderick is just a little bit drunk. Maybe he's tripping balls.
I'd want you throw the radio in the tub right when Jefferson Airplane peaks.
Feed your head.
Okay. Cracks him with a grapefruit. Takes off running.
Oh, Matthew Broderick needs to go out in a haze of glory. Speaking of haze of glory, what I've got here today, drinking for you all, is from DuClaw Brewing Company in somewhere in Maryland, evidently. Haze of Glory. It's a New England style IPA. It's supposed to be one of those, hazy, fruity, the trendy IPAs that are in right now, or that were in 2 years ago. Nobody's keeping track of that, though.
Yeah.
It's super mild, honestly. It's 6.3% ABV. It's not over the top hoppy. It's got a little bit of like an orange juice, orange rind scent to it. A little bit of that orange rind flavor too. Not nearly as much of like the mango juice, the nectar, the peach. Not nearly as much of that as you get in a lot of like the better New England style IPAs. It's okay.
Now, when you're saying it's got that orange rind smell, is it one of those, the beers that like to do that? When you smell it, you go, ooh, that smells good. And then when you drink it, it tastes like every other fucking, trash beer out there.
Oh, kind of like Belgian or Blue Moon or something like that.
Yeah, you're like, oh, that smells good. And then you drink it and you go, oh, it still tastes like shit, though.
I like beer, so no, like I like the taste of this. It's just kind of medium.
See, because
mediocre.
I'm a fan of the Dogfish ales and Dogfish Head, and you can smell those and you go, huh, that smells like this, and then you drink it and you go, oh man, it tastes like that.
I will tell you, like the aroma on it is a lot more pure. You get a lot more of like the true orange rind, orange juice. When you get down into the flavor, it does just kind of taste a little bit more like an IPA. It's hoppy. It's not over the top hoppy, but it's not super fruity or juicy or anything special like that.
I don't know. It sounds like something I would throw out, kind of like Matthew Broderick threw out Jim Carrey when he found out he banged a whore.
But yeah, something else. In addition, another little rant. Can this motherfucker eat some eggs right?
No!
Why are you hating on scramby eggs?
No, I love scrambled eggs. He's like bringing the plate to his mouth and just like slurping it into his mouth like he's eating like egg soup.
He's the kind of guy that just like eats with a shovel. That's all it is. He's got that prison mentality. He just has to eat it quick before somebody steals his cornbread.
Like, why is the fork there? Stick your hand and just.
I mean, why not? Dump a little ketchup on there, shovel it in.
But yeah, as we've alluded to, the lady that Matthew Broderick presumably slept with that night, her name is Heather, by the way. Heather was a prostitute.
What a very 90s name.
Heather doesn't matter. She's never, brought up again until blackmail.
That's true, yep.
But you know what? Mr. Jim Carrey, he feels bad. And he's going to right his wrongs by immediately kicking the shit out of Owen Wilson.
Yeah, I thought this was just an Owen Wilson cameo, but it turns out he's like an actual character in this. And
his character is Robin's date. That's his name in the credits.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And he's kind of a dick. I mean, not even kind of. He's just like, hey, I ordered my chicken 5 minutes ago. Where the fuck it is?
He never says wow.
Where the fuck it is.
Yeah, Anybody who's writing trivia out there, just go ahead and pencil this in. Name the only film where Owen Wilson does not say "wow," it's this'n.
Mm-hmm. There is no wow. So Jim Carrey comes sneaking in this motherfucker looking like a flamboyant Unabomber.
I had him written down as a gay Freddie Mercury.
I think he just looks like Dr. Robotnik.
Oh, he does.
Yeah.
Chandler's good. He looks more like Dr. Robotnik than he does in the Sonic movie.
It's true.
No.
But yeah, he gives $20 to the restroom attendant who's like, hey, take a break.
And the guy's like, yeah, I make like $8 an hour, sayonara.
This was 1996. He's probably getting $4.25.
Yeah. So he beats feet while Jim Carrey beats meat, but not his own. He puts a scatting beat down.
A scatting beat down? What?
Yeah. He's like salt peanuts, snapping his fingers and scatting while he's like beating him up.
Owen Wilson walks in to take a leak, and he's like, you like jazz? And kicks the shit out of him.
Yes.
Chip just pops up out of fucking nowhere.
He had to have slid under the stall door in this weird, like, chaturanga style stance. Like, this dude's
I don't know
fucking...
what you mean, but I completely agree.
I don't know.
For any
With his lips.
There, dive bomber push-up.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I don't know. like with his lisp and everything, he probably just like slithered his way in there.
But then he commences to just beating the hell out of him while doing like scat, like salt peanuts. It's pretty good. This was a fun scene for me.
Don't worry about the tip. I got one for you. Stay away from Robin.
Just the finger snaps.
Yeah.
Then we get another clip of, we've kind of been ignoring this. We mentioned it earlier. But this movie is interlaced with clips of the Sweet Brother trial. It's Ben Stiller, and evidently he allegedly murdered his twin brother, who... it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
I don't believe it because the 911 call says that it was Asian people that looked Asian and they were speaking a different language that he thinks was Asian.
But did the glove fit?
According to the news thing, like he said that was some Asian people, whatever, but he later admitted to the guilt anyways, so.
But what was Chewbacca doing?
Whatever it was Solo.
Oh.
Like, you get a thing on the news, like, oh, there was a bathroom beating, and the guy's like, well, he even broke his nose. No, it was that way the whole time. And Matthew Broderick's kind of looking at it like, that's kind of weird. The guy that pops up on screen as a suspect totally doesn't look like Jim Carrey with the mustache at all.
It is 100%. Whoever drew this fucking artist rendition, holy shit, it is an exact copy of Jim Carrey's face wearing a mustache.
That's when I said that looks like the Unabomber.
Turns out Jim Carrey was the Unabomber.
But at this point, the next thing that I have is Chip goes to Robin's apartment to upgrade her cable for her. And this is, I'll say, the next time that he super oversteps his bounds.
Oh, yeah.
By doing what he did at Matthew Broderick's place and starts fucking pilfering around immediately.
Well, yeah, in addition to that, like, he shouldn't be upgrading her cable anyway. That's weird, like, just going to her apartment. But also, yeah, just, like, pilfering, looking at, like, pictures and, like, ooh, what's this? This candle smells like sandalwood. Ooh, he thinks you're the cat's pajamas.
But it works. And it gets the two of them together again.
Yeah, she immediately calls him and says, I love you. All right, end credits. Get a restraining order and just be done with him.
Like it would stop him. I mean, long story short, bitches dig cable.
I guess.
Yeah. It's the ultimate aphrodisiac.
HBO!
Yeah, he's like...
But this is where we get to the big heartbreaking scene. Now that Robin is back into, Matthew Broderick's life, he's like, hey, Chip, I don't need you anymore. And he just breaks his heart standing in the rain. And then this motherfucker comes back like the spiteful catty ex that he is and gets him fucking arrested at work.
Yeah, he's like, he shows up at his apartment and is like, I got her back for you. You want to go catch a movie? And he's like, thanks, but I've got some stuff to work on, mostly her. She needs a good dickin', so I don't need any more friends. So leave me alone now, please.
He could have done that way more smart.
I mean, probably, yeah.
I
But
just,
it doesn't.
I don't like the rest of the movie from here on out is literally just like me watching Jim Carrey be Jim Carrey, and like even though like what Jim Carrey does to him gets more and more fucking insane and unbelievable, there is a point where I'm just like, huh, how did he do that?
All this culminates in him being, at Matthew Broderick's parents' house for some kind of weird intervention game night.
See, you're skipping through a whole lot. This is why I've got 13 pages of notes.
Yeah, but none of that really matters. It's just like one-liners and jokes.
So Homeboy gets Broderick arrested in his office for receiving stolen property. That was all of that, the television, stereo setup, all of that. Evidently stolen property. Broderick goes to jail. He is in jail for the weekend. His theoretical lawyer shows up, and it's fucking Chip. It's Jim Carrey, who, for whatever reason, is this a reference to something that I don't know? He unbuttons his shirt and puts his nipple on the glass and is like, "You need human contact.
Yeah.
Touch it."
Oliver Stone reference.
Is
He
it?
tells you that, yeah. Because
I
right after he does it, he's like, "You ever seen the Oliver Stone movie, whatever that was?" He's like, "It won a Golden Globe or something like that."
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know that. I didn't see that. But it was weird.
Super weird.
Yeah, like
He tries
more
to get him
cringe.
arrested, but the guards at the fucking prison know him.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, the sports package. Yeah, thanks, Doug.
Doug.
Matthew Broderick finally gets out, but he's losing his shit.
And there's like a brief moment where he goes to Jack Black. He's like, "Yay, I'm on bail. Can you like do some detective work for me or whatever?"
And he goes,
Yeah.
"You know it, boss."
Hey,
Yeah,
boss.
he's like, he told me his name was Chip, but his real name is Larry Tate. And that's not his name. That's nobody's name.
That's a fictional character there.
That's a character from Bewitched.
To which Jack Black's like, "You're a nerd."
Yeah.
Click.
So, yeah, the next thing we know, he is out, and Robin and Matthew Broderick, who his character's name is Steve, and from here on out, I think I have him listed as Steve. So Steve is Broderick, Broderick is Steve. Einhorn is Fecal. They go to his parents' house, just to have a nice dinner or whatever. Turns out, fucking Chip's there. Robin invited him. They've been talking. Shit is weird.
Yeah, everyone thinks that, Jim Carrey's character, Chip, is this fucking hero of the night, and he's there to make sure that everything's okay and make sure that his best friend, Steve, is okay too.
He just got out of jail, he's making some poor life decisions.
He's also wearing a Mr. Rogers sweater.
It's a beautiful day in the moon.
Yeah, this is actually the most apparent scene from when I originally saw this. This was the scene that I remember most vividly, and even as like a 12-year-old fucking cringing over. The game is Porno Password. It's the adult version of Password, which I guess is sort of like what is it, charades or something like that, but you only use words. Anyway, the password is penis. And this is in front of his mom and his dad. He's got to try and get his mom to say penis or vagina or clitoris, and it's super cringe.
I would have said schlong.
And everybody else is having a good time here, except for Broderick. Broderick is just petrified.
Oh,
He is.
no. My
He's
mom said
so-
so.
He's so stick in the mud, and they're even calling him out on it. They're like, "Stop being a fucking buzzkill." And he's like, I can't say clitoris. I can't get my clitoris. And Jim Carrey has another really gross line. "Steven, it's just flesh." But he ends up antagonizing Steve into being, the villain here. He kind of keeps pushing his buttons and, getting him to escalate until finally Matthew Broderick can't handle it anymore.
Jim Carrey whispers, Robin showed me the birthmark on her left shoulder. It was very sexy. Very, fucking Hannibal Lecter again, and it's just fucking creepy. I would have punched him too.
And that punch came from New Jersey because one moment they're right next to each other, and the next Matthew Broderick is already like heaved back and just like socks him right in the face.
Also, it smelled like a garbage dump.
What?
Oh, New Jersey.
Yeah, fuck that state.
Okay, I got you.
Next thing we got is more human than you, man. More human than you, man. Some White Zombie.
Yeah, the soundtrack is just bumping for this film, but to me, it just didn't fit the fucking movie. I'm like, all right, I like this song, but what's it doing in here?
It doesn't fit, but I'm into it.
It's probably Ben Stiller like, hey, all my friends are in this movie, but I also have friends who are musicians. Hey, can I borrow a song? Thanks, Filter.
It's just Jack Black is like, hey, you know what I'll play right now? Some White Zombie.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Next thing we have is actually what sets off the rest of the movie. Old boy is going, back to work into his office, and he sees this video that is playing on every computer in the whole office. It is a video of himself and Robin talking shit about his boss.
And I guess his boss is very self-conscious about his hairline. He's had some hair plugs put in, and unfortunately in that video, he's roasted the shit out of him.
Oh yeah. But we also get a David Cross cameo here, which is like, he's just a cameo there. He's just like a guy.
He's like, what are you doing there, Mr. Cross? Not being a Man in Black.
Damn.
So he gets fired.
Yep.
He gets fired real quick.
As he's walking out to his car, somehow Jim Carrey's Chip character has set off all the car alarms and then starts quoting both Field of Dreams and Friday the 13th. Kill. And that was my wife's one and only chuckle through this fucking movie. She laughed at that, and that was it.
Like, at that point, it's over. Calling the cops.
Oh, at that point, okay. You were just thrown in jail and all this other stuff. It's like, oh, okay, him quoting Friday the 13th. That's the line right there.
No.
David crossed.
Having the ability to set all these car alarms off, he is obviously trying to do you harm in this parking garage. All right, get me out of here. I need a restraining order.
But that's the thing. He could have done this forever ago, and he chose not to, because Jack Black has already done this detective work and discovered that, he's not even working for the cable company. He uses all these crazy aliases. He could have told his family at the party and been like, look, I can call Jack Black right now, and he'll tell you that this is all true. This is all bullshit.
Now, it's not until right now that he knows that his company has fired him for stalking other customers, and that he's used the fake names. It's not until right now.
Okay, yeah, you're right, because this is when he has the nightmare that he's coming to get him.
Oh, yeah.
I say this right here is a highlight. I like this little nightmare that it has.
Yes. This is a fun scene where Jim Carrey's got over-the-top contacts in. He's being super goofy.
It's
yet,
the 90s, baby.
Maniacally creepy, and it works in this sense because, at least in this sense, his maniacalness is in a dream. It's fantasy. It fits this world. And right now, Matthew Broderick is finally showing a response in the dream. So it really works. He sees Jim Carrey trying to get in. He sees the cable guy going crazy, busts through the door. He's running from him. Jim Carrey's running all super crazy and gangly.
Like an animal.
Yes, and it's fucking wonderful.
But unfortunately, he wakes up.
Yep, and there's more movie.
Oh.
Do you think this movie would have been better as a not dark comedy, not comedy at all, just like maybe a tension, like a thriller, maybe like a low-key thriller?
I agree 100%. And I still harken back to my previous point, is that it's just completely miscast.
Yeah,
so
it's the
either
thing.
Exchange Jim Carrey for somebody else, or exchange the rest of the cast for people far more goofy.
So, I mean, at this point, change everybody for Gary Busey.
Ooh. Have you guys ever seen the movie The Fan with Robert De Niro and Wesley Snipes?
Oh, yeah.
This is exactly the same movie, just done right. You have a guy who is attached, obsessed with another guy and stalking him and, creeping out, and then he's hurt by something the man says or does, and seeks vengeance in a
No, you're talking about that movie with fucking John Travolta.
No, Moose is in the house.
Moose is in the house.
Moose is in the house. Can't talk long. I gotta poop.
So Jack Black has all this information. He brings up Matthew Broderick, and he's like, "Hey, man, this guy is like completely sociopathic. Stay away from him." But oh wait, he's hanging out with your girlfriend. Go get him. So he drives to her house. It's like, "Hey, was she here?" And Grandma comes out, "No, she left with the cable guy. I know too much for a character." And then she points him towards the satellite dish where they were early in the movie.
There's a rainstorm. Kind of the same spiel that he gave Broderick early. Yeah, about what is it, like in the future everybody's going to be, playing Mortal Kombat with their friend and doing their shopping over the TV and
wasn't wrong.
Like he wasn't wrong.
But she says, "I'm worried about Steven." And he's like, "You know what, bitch? Hang around." And she turns into a dangling damsel.
I don't understand how she was okay with that. It seemed fairly easy to get her up there.
No resistance. He fucking takes her hostage with a staple gun.
Yeah,
which
not even
no
like
threat.
not even like a good staple gun. It wasn't like a Craftsman professional staple gun. It was like a plastic little cheap thing.
And it does no harm because Steven chases after him up the ladder and he belts out 8 rounds. He's like, stop that.
Yeah, I like the noise he makes when he's shooting. He's like, yeah.
It's not a comedy anymore. This is full on like a thriller. There are little tension breakers, but this is a thriller from here on out. He's dashing up the top of the tower or whatever it is with the lady.
If you mean by him his obvious stunt double, then yes.
all his stuff when he was climbing up was totally ADR.
Yeah, I didn't pay attention to it. Sure.
It's just one of those things that I catch in all the movies. So it shows them going up the pylon or what the fuck ever, and then it shows them, and you can just visibly tell that is not the actor whatsoever. Doesn't look anything fucking like him. And you're like, well, who is this guy? And then it pans back to Matthew Broderick, and you go, oh, well, I guess that's him.
That's the other guy. Yeah, Broderick is chasing him up this ladder. We start to hear sirens in the background too, because evidently, at least you would assume, Broderick finally called the cops.
Yeah, it would have to, because I don't think they had cell phones back in the day, because it certainly wasn't the damsel in distress. She was doing Jack.
But see, they don't even say anything about a possible hostage situation. They're like, you're trespassing.
Yeah, at that point, I'm like, oh, he didn't call the cops. It's just like whoever owns the satellite wants to get those trespassers out of there.
Yeah, that's all it is.
Yeah.
He starts having a mental fucking breakdown and a panic and starts naming off all these TV shows and talking about learning the facts of life from the facts of life. And
I remember that.
Endearing to you to make you feel some sort of sympathy towards Jim Carrey's character.
I don't think it is.
Oh, totally. The music plays up and everything. He has that moment with his mom copter.
Yeah, he's like, Mom, you were never there for me, because of all the flashbacks it showed you that we neglected to talk about because they're very unimportant.
Kathy Griffin is unimportant?
Well, I mean,
yeah, you're right. Actually, yeah.
It's your face.
But yeah, we do have a couple flashbacks to essentially him being raised by his television. He's the bastard son of Claire Huxtable. All of these things. His mom wasn't there, his dad wasn't there. He did learn the facts of life.
So what's the obvious solution? Have your stunt jumble fucking jump off the tower.
Obviously, yeah. He's like, no, we'll go down together. Broderick's like, we'll have a Heineken together. And he's like, no, I gotta go.
You don't understand. Someone's gotta kill the babysitter. And then he lets go and falls onto the satellite in this big dramatic bit that cuts out the broadcast just as they're about to reveal the verdict, guilty or not guilty, of the Sam Sweet case, which has been, alluded to throughout the movie. And maybe it's a metaphor for the babysitter being the TV and the fact that he needs to kill the babysitter. He stopped the broadcast, which forced people to pick up a book and start reading. Yeah.
The moral of the story is, thank God for Jim Carrey. Now Kyle Gass knows how to read.
We don't know that he knows how to read. He was just picking it up and looking at the squiggles.
You're right. He just like flips to an indescript page. He's like, oh.
Huh.
But this isn't a happy ending. It's not a sad ending. Jim Carrey isn't dead. He ends up like stalker clinging to the helicopter cop. Robin is with Matthew Broderick now, and you just kind of wonder what the fuck kind of life he's going to have now. You know, his friends are weirded out by him. He has a criminal record. He got fired from his job.
Okay, it's a happy ending for me because he is back with Robin, and he is no longer attached to this fucking Jim Carrey character. Jim Carrey's got another friend, which is the helicopter.
The medic in the chopper.
Yeah, like the what do you call it? EMS, which is the fucking helicopter EMS guy. So he's off his conscience there. He could just go back to normal life. Maybe he's got to find a new job, but he's got his Robin, and he's got crazy guy out of his life.
Poor EMS guy has to put up with the handy cable guy.
But yeah, you got Jim Carrey getting flown away on a helicopter for by an EMS medic guy who was like, "Hang in there, you're gonna make it, buddy." And he's like, "Oh, am I really your buddy? Well, can I be your friend too? Oh,
Guy, you're a cable guy."
Yeah. But yeah, if I'm Matthew Broderick, which I guess is supposed to be like the protagonist of this film, I'm relieved. Like, my life is almost back together. The conflict has been resolved. Cool. I got this cool blanket that the county gave me.
Just cool.
Yeah. I don't have a job, but I got my lady back, and I might be able to get my job back.
Things are looking up, Millhouse, and now that the cable guy's out of the way, you get your other best friend back. You get Jack Black back.
I'm just hoping I can get my deposit back on this apartment because he drilled a lot of holes in the walls.
Truth.
That's the real horror of this story.
So that was the cable guy.
It sure was. This movie has made me completely indifferent, and I have nothing more to add.
I can't say it's a terrible movie. It does have points that will make you kind of like smirk. It does have, parts that will make you go, what? There's really some good ideas here. Jim Carrey is in top form as a zany caricature of a human being. The movie, to me, just is hit and miss, very fucking spotty. I couldn't get into it. I felt like the comedy, or at least the sense of comedy, felt dated. Matthew Broderick, I don't like his acting. He feels so dry in this. I know that you identify with that kind of dryness, Chandler, and so like you kind of enjoy seeing that. But to me, it really ruined the overtop mood of what I thought this movie's going for. I think, like you said, Eric, with some different casting, this could actually be a fairly interesting take on something.
See, I have trouble considering this a comedy. Like, I know there's a couple little, like, smirky little things, like with Janine Garofalo here or there, whatever. But if this is a dark comedy, it's tremendously dark. I would rather just consider this like a light thriller. And I know that's not how it was promoted or anything like that. And I know you've got Jim Carrey in there, who is like hot off the reins of like Ace Ventura and The Mask, things like that. He is a comedic actor, and he was playing a very similar role in this. But I would much rather just consider this a thriller, like a film that just makes you feel creeped out or cringy, something like that. And in that case, I don't know that I hate it. I probably don't love it, but it's something to talk about. Like, there's a lot to talk about here.
You know what? That's a pretty good point. This movie is too funny to be a thriller and just like too boring to be a comedy. So, there you have it. That is The Cable Guy, sans Larry, from 1996. If you have any feelings about the podcast or the movie, leave them in the comments below.
Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Be sure to hit that little bell icon too, so you know next time we got another one of these brewing.
Follow us on all of our different social media accounts. We got that Facebook, a Twitter, we have Instagram, and a Reddit. We also got an administrator constantly pumping out new stuff. So you got something to sink your teeth into. Make sure you check it all out so we don't have to force you to watch Matthew Broderick talk like a cow chews.
This concludes our broadcast day. Click.